Yesterday, I put out a video talking about the team who 2 years ago represented the NFC in the Super Bowl in the Atlanta Falcons. So today, it only seems right that we're going to talk about the team who just last season represented the NFC in the Super Bowl in the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are a team who have increasingly over the past couple of years have had a target growing on their back, led by head coach Sean McVay, who's brought a completely revitalized offense and a pretty new offense that the NFL really has not seen before, led by quarterback Jared Goff and two star receivers in Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. Although the Los Angeles Rams did not make the postseason last year, they went 9-7. They still had a great offense and a somewhat solid defense, and they were going through the whole problem last year with Todd Gurley knowing whether or not, or actually not knowing whether or not he was going to be playing on a game-by-game basis. The effect of not having a fully healthy Todd Gurley is very apparent when you look at the box score stats for the LA Rams last year, as they were 26th in rushing offense and 22nd in turnovers. However, you can see that their scoring, yards, passing offense, and sacks allowed were still towards the top of the league. However, the problem with the rushing game was pretty much what did the Rams in terms of not being able to win many games, at least not being able to win double-digit games and get to the postseason. Not having Todd Gurley being at his full strength and having to rely on rookies like Darrell Henderson really set this team back and kept them out of the postseason last year. Shifting the focus to the defensive side of the ball, honestly, I think what they were able to do on the defensive side of the ball last year is much better than what people give them credit for. Obviously, having the 19th ranked rushing defense and having the 17th scoring defense isn't great, but considering that they had a lot of new faces on that defense, considering they traded a lot of their mainstays on the defense like Marcus Peters, they pretty much played a lot better than I thought many people would have expected and have been giving them credit for over the last couple of years. To me, the two most important guys for this defense last year were Aaron Donald and Taylor Rapp. Aaron Donald is the obvious choice for a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, not only for the Rams, but is in the league in general. He is just one of the best pass rushers that this game has seen in the past few years, especially considering how he does it in terms of his leverage and how he is one of the smaller guys on the field, but he's still able to wreak havoc more than any other player on the field. And then the other guy I mentioned, Taylor Rapp, I really thought he should have been in the running for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Not that he had a chance to win over Nick Bosa, but at the same time, posting over 100 tackles, or I guess exactly 100 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 8 pass deflections, he really was the reason that the pass defense didn't go from okay to bad, because this team, they lost Eric Weddle for a couple games, they lost Josh Johnson for a few games as well. He really stepped in at either the free or strong safety spot and played a lot better than I thought many people gave him credit for. Now, looking at what the offseason showed for the Rams over the past few months, the real main problem for the Rams going into the last offseason was they did not have a lot of money really to go around to many guys who had upcoming free agency. It was due to this that the Rams had to let go of a lot of core rotational players and core guys to the team in general. Guys like Nickell Robey-Coleman, Corey Littleton, and JoJo Natson ended up leaving in free agency, and even their kicker, Greg Zuerlein, who admittedly he probably didn't have the same type of season that he had in previous years, but still, he's one of the best kickers in the game, and due to the fact that the Rams did not have a lot of money to throw around, they had to let Greg Zuerlein walk in free agency. The obvious switch that the Rams are going to be going through in terms of personnel-wise is replacing Dante Fowler Jr. with Leonard Floyd. Both of those guys are very athletic outside linebackers, and even though Dante Fowler was probably the much better player last year, Leonard Floyd has a chance playing on either the same side or opposite side of Aaron Donald as flourishing in that role for the Rams and being possibly a double-digit sack getter. The Rams also traded away Brandin Cooks, and they ended up cutting Todd Gurley before free agency started. And Brandin Cooks obviously is hard to get rid of, but he's had his concussion injury or issues and injuries in general, and he wasn't really able to stay on the field very much as he wanted to the past couple of years. And Todd Gurley, like I said earlier, was one of the guys who the Rams were kind of relying on Todd Gurley, but they didn't really know on a game-by-game basis how he was going to be able to perform, whether it was his knee issue, whatever it was. They weren't able to count on Todd Gurley on a game-by-game basis, and that's why we saw him get cut last year. The Rams moved very quickly to try to replace both Todd Gurley and Brandin Cooks in the draft, as they drafted both Cam Akers and Van Jefferson in the second round of the draft, both about 5 or 6 picks away from each other. They also added outside linebacker Terrell Lewis, who was hopefully with Leonard Floyd going to be looked at replacing Dante Fowler Jr. in the pass rush game. They added a lot of other depth players in the linebacking and safety department, but really their two main picks were Cam Akers and Van Jefferson. From what I've heard, Cam Akers has played very well in training camp. It's kind of hard to look at rookies and see what they're going to do in the upcoming season, especially this offseason due to the fact that we have no preseason games, and preseason games are really the games that we look at when we look at rookies and newcomers to a team in general. So it'll be hard for them to acclimate or to get acclimated these first few games of the regular season. However, there is a chance that Cam Akers will be the bell cow running back, the guy who got the same amount of touches as Todd Gurley these past couple of years. So now that I'm done talking about the offseason and what the season was in general for the Rams last year, it's time to talk about the expectations for this team in the upcoming season. I honestly want to say that the Rams are going to go 8-8. I don't see this team being even the second most talented team in their division. The Seahawks are above them in terms of talent, I feel at least. I really think the Rams or the 49ers are more talented than the Rams as well. And honestly, the Cardinals are catching up as well. The Cardinals added way more than the Rams added just with their one move of trading for DeAndre Hopkins. The Rams lost a lot in free agency, and they really didn't get much from the draft and free agency in general. They got, obviously, Cam Akers. They got Leonard Floyd. They got Van Jefferson. I don't see that being enough considering Seattle traded for Jamal Adams. Arizona traded for DeAndre Hopkins. San Francisco traded away their top defensive tackle and ended up drafting one of the top defensive tackles in Javon Kinlaw. I just don't see the Rams being able to move. They're not going to fall. They're not going to be a 5-11 team or a 4-12 team. But I think their ceiling is probably at about 10 or 11 wins, and their floor is about 7 or 8 wins. They're not going to be a bottom of the league team, but they're not going to be towards the top of the NFC, in my opinion. Especially looking at other teams around the league that aren't in their division. The Eagles are going to be better. The Cowboys are going to be better. The Buccaneers are going to be way better. The Saints are going to be still towards the top of the league. The Falcons are probably going to be better than what they did last year. There's so many teams around the league that got much better than the Rams did in terms of where they were last year. And for that, for me, is going to put the Rams towards probably third in their division and probably around 10th in the conference, and looking from the outside in when it comes to the playoff race. With all that being said, that's going to be the video for me. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave a like down below. If you didn't like it, make sure you hit the dislike button. Any feedback from you guys at this point is much appreciated. If there's anything that you think I forgot to talk about, make sure you go to the comments down below and say something. I try to get back to as many of you guys as possible. If you like the content that I put out, make sure you hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.